Well, hello. Hi, everyone. So glad you're here. If you're just joining us or you're on a replay, we're so happy to have you here, all ready to learn more about whole brain teaching. So to get us started, the first thing I have to do is tell you who we are. I'm just going to say, so I'm going to tell you, I'm Nancy Stoltenberg. If you haven't met me yet, I'm an executive board member for Whole Brain Teaching, and I'm down here in Southern California. Melissa, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I am Melissa Ortuno. I am one of the Platinum certified instructors for Whole Brain Teaching, and I teach transitional kindergarten here in the East Bay area of California.
Great. Weston.
Hi, I'm Weston Lamb-Costantino. I'm a gold certified music teacher here in Wyoming, and we're excited to present today.
We are so excited. So Melissa and I are going to be helping present today, and Weston's going to be back a little bit later to present as well. So we'll see you later, Weston. And while he's leaving the area, not far, he's going over to Facebook. So he's going to be there to help answer some of your questions and post comments. I want you to note, mine is all tabbed up, but this is the new book. So everything that Melissa and I and Weston are going to share today comes from Coach B's brand new Whole Brain Teaching for Challenging Kids, second edition. You may have the first one. This one's amazing as well. So get this new book. So everything we're doing today is coming out of this book. We're going to be sharing information, and we're going to start with part 2 of the Magic Circle, which is in our book. And our book is pretty cool because if you haven't gotten it yet, it's all set up in modules. And so our module today is, there's a great slide of it. Our module today is module 2, the instruction one, and we're going to chapter 6 today. So we did part 1 of the Magic Circle that you're seeing right there about a week ago. And this is part 2. But we're going to review the beginning of what we said the last time. So kind of catch you up to remind you of what we did earlier. But we got to start with our big question. So our big question is, how do you talk less and teach more? Big question. How do you talk less and teach more? Melissa, what's our big question?
Thank you, Nancy. Our big question is, how do we talk less and actually teach more? That's our big question today.
That's a huge question because every single teacher, no matter the experience level, has got to focus in on that every single day, no matter what you're teaching, no matter what your age group is. This is an important part because we got to talk less if we're going to teach more. Big deal. All right, so let's go to the next slide because we have the answer to that question.
Yeah,
and
it's right already.
There. Oh, yeah. The answer to our question, Melissa, is the Magic Circle. Yeah. The Magic Circle is our infamous method of delivery. Any lesson, any material, and we're going to be going through this, starting where we started last time, but we're going to make it all the way through the circle today. Melissa, tell me why this is such an amazing delivery piece.
Thank you, Ms. Nancy. This is so amazing because it helps us to grab their attention, engage their attention, and build in the manners. So we're talking less and actually teaching, not just standing there going, wah, 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 turning into the Charlie Brown teacher.
Exactly. Very good. Okay, so let's get started because like I said, we're going to review the first pieces. So on this circle, there's a little piece at the top that's set aside because it can happen at different times of the day and it doesn't have to be part of your circle. But it's the beginning of your day because you're going to be welcoming your students. And the other thing we want to point out on here, it says day 1. Day 1 is not necessarily the first day of school. Day 1 is the first day you introduce whole brain teaching into your classroom. Melissa, when is day 1?
Thank you, Nancy. Day 1 is whichever day you're introducing this part of whole brain teaching in your classroom. So day 1 might be the first day of school, but it might not. It's whenever you're introducing this strategy into your classroom.
Thank you, Melissa. So this first piece, this greeting, is the beginning of that relationship, that respectful relationship, that relationship that builds a really strong environment of learning, of respect, and we're going to start with the greeting. So here we go. So Melissa, I'll be the teacher, you be the student. This is the same script we used last time. It's in the book. So good morning, my friends.
Good morning, Miss Maestra.
Okay, so Melissa, we just greeted our students. Explain to me, when am I going to use this during the day, besides first thing?
Thank you, Nancy. So this is anytime we're gathering together, or when we come in from recess, when we come in from lunch, or at the start of the day, at this after or we had some small group activities, anytime we're gathering together, we're going to have a greeting.
Perfect. And so when you go back to the first part of this Facebook Live series, you're going to see us actually break it down and go through the script more. But what we're going to show you right now with the script is how you can add a little variety into it. So instead of saying, good morning, my friends, I'm going to say, good morning, my friends.
Good morning, Miss Maestra.
So you add some variety to it, which is really important by afternoon when they're coming back in for lunch. Add some variety to it. It's not disrespectful. It's making them feel welcome and adding a little funtricity, as we say. So that's our greeting. That's our first part. And it's at the top of the circle, not used all the time. Part 2, we're moving along. You've greeted them, and maybe you're ready to start the circle itself. So the first thing we're going to do is when they come in, we're going to get our attention getter going. We want to grab their attention. And so Melissa and I are going to go through this to show you how we do this, starting with the greeting and then going to that attention getter, that class yes. So I think it's on this one. There we go. So Melissa, you're my student again. Here we go. Good morning, my friends.
Good morning, Miss Maestra.
Yo, class.
Yo, yes.
Great job. So now you've welcomed them. You've engaged them with that attention getter. Everybody's on board. And again, watch us do this with a little variety. Good morning, class.
Good morning, Miss Maestra.
Yo, 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 class.
Yo, 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 yes.
So add variety. Great job, Melissa. So we're going through this first part pretty quickly. Review it in part 1 of the series. So that's our greeting and our attention getter, that class yes. And we're ready for the next piece. So we're ready to build on that respectful relationship, and we bring manners into our classroom. Oh, who knew? Yes, you got to bring those manners in because that's the strengthening of that relationship and that bonding that you're doing. So this time when I say thank you, I'm going to use my hands on my heart. And when the students respond, you're welcome, they're going to put their hands on their heart. But big difference is they're going to add a name to it. So if you go to that next script, and we're going to show you how to go through all of this and adding in those manners. So here we go again, Melissa. You're doing a great job. Good morning, class.
Good morning, Miss Maestra.
Yippee, class.
Yippee, yes.
Thank you, class.
You're welcome, Miss Maestra.
Very good. And at the beginning of the year, when you're first starting it, you see in red print at the bottom, you're going to help your students by echoing and playing the student with them. So you're going to play teacher part and you're going to play student part because not everyone will immediately pick that up. So that's our first 3 steps of the circle. Melissa, explain to us what was on that circle that we've covered so far.
Thank you, Nancy. So far in part 1 and in our review, we've talked about the greeting, the class yes, us, which is our attention getter, and our manners, our thank you, you're welcome.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, so there's a summary. This is what we did in part 1 of our series that you can go back and watch at your leisure. It's under the guides on the top of the Super Improver group where you're at right now. So here we go, part 2. So let's see. I have their attention. They're all looking at me with folded hands. Now what? Well, first of all, you're going to have a little microsecond of teacher heaven because they're all looking at you. They're engaged with you, but don't hold it too long because you need the next step. It's time for a brain engager. It's called mere words. Melissa, have you ever been in this situation? What do you need?
Thank you, Nancy. So we actually got them to be quiet and they're actually paying attention. And now it's kind of like, what? Oh, I got a split second to get my brains engaged with mere words.
Perfect. All right. So let's talk about this brain engager, this mere words. So we're going to walk through this script. Melissa and I are going to walk through this and watch how we introduce this. So we're talking to our class. This is the first day. We're going to say, when I say mere words, you say mere words and put your hands up. Mere words.
Mere words.
One more, please. Mere words.
Mere words.
Rule 1.
Rule 1.
Follow directions quickly.
Follow directions quickly.
Rule 1.
Rule 1.
Follow directions quickly.
Follow directions quickly.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
So huddle up. What we just did was the first day of introducing mere words, this brain engager. This is how you're going to engage the areas of their brain. This is how you're going to help them become teachers. They're going to become teachers in your classroom, and this is the first step to doing that. So what we're going to show you is, this is a script, but we're going to break it down a little bit more to help you out so that you can scaffold it in based on your students and what you're teaching. So Melissa, let's go break it down. So I'm going to have you talk about what I just did with that rule 1 gesture.
Thank you, Nancy. So the brain engager, you're using your gestures. You're stating one new point, but you're doing it twice. The first time you're going to state it in kind of a normal voice, quote normal. The students are repeating it in that same voice, imitating your gestures. So you saw, Nancy, rule number 1. I said the students said rule number 1, and they did the gestures. The second time you're doing it in a little bit jazzed up voice. You're repeating it, imitating the gestures again. This is the way you're getting the engagement and you're having fun. Teaching should be fun, and that's the best part of whole brain teaching. With the mere words, you're engaging their brain and you're making it more fun, which makes them remember those points that you're teaching more quickly.
Very good, Melissa. Exactly, because when your students are having fun and you're having fun, oh my goodness, it's amazing. And those moments seem short sometimes, but we're going to help you make them longer. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, because we're going to show you that the first time you introduce this, you might have to introduce it a little bit slower. And I know Melissa is going to testify to that. But what we're going to do is, the first time we do it, we're just going to ask the students, I'm going to put my mirrors with my hands up. I'm just going to say mirrors, and I'm going to have my hands up. Boys and girls, I'm going to say mirrors, and you say mirrors with your hands up. Mirrors.
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 Oh, that was very good. So each time you're doing this, as you practice in this first step, everyone, go fast, go slow, make it a game. And watch what happens to Melissa when I do this. Mirrors.
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 Mirrors. Mirrors.
Mirrors.
Mirrors.
Mirrors.
Now, guess what Melissa might have done? She thinks, oh, that teacher has a pattern going. And so her first inclination, if she's not looking at me, is to go your words again slowly. So you've got to mix it up, make it fun, have a game. Explain to me the first step of scaffolding in teaching mere words.
Thank you, Nancy. So this first one is very important. You're modeling, and you're doing it as a game. So you're trying to get those kids engaged, and you're just saying mirrors and practicing the hands up. And you're saying the mirrors in the different ways. It's making it a game. So fun.
Yeah, when you make it a game, everything changes. I love that part. All right, so there, got that done. We're ready for step 2. So now, this time, the teacher's going to say the mirror again. I'm going to say mirror check. And when I say mirror check, you're going to say mirror check with your hands up, and then you're going to copy the gestures. You're going to mirror my gestures. Let's try that. Mirror check.
Mirror check.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
That's a mirror check. That's a mirror check. That gets them used to the idea that they are mirroring your gestures. Don't worry about the voice yet. Just get that idea of mirroring what the teacher's doing. Melissa, explain step 2.
Thank you, Nancy. Step 2 is that mirror check. And they're not talking about the words. We're not at the words. We're copying what they're doing. And this is so important, even on the last day of school for me. If we're not mirroring correctly, we need to do a mirror check. Maybe scrub one of those windows and clean off our mirrors and get those working a little better.
I love that. Yes, I love clean mirrors. Okay, so we've got step 1 where they just practice putting their hands up, slow, fast. Second step, when you think they're ready, we're going to bring in the mirror check. And like Melissa said, you want to get the class all going. You can just do mirror check and everybody's doing this. And then you're ready to go on. All right, now we're ready for the big deal because now we're ready to bring in the words. So when you think your students are ready for that, this is what you will do. I will say mirror words with hands up fast. You will say mirror words with hands up fast. Mirror words.
Mirror words.
Oh, that's very good. Okay, this time though, when I move my hands, you're going to move your hands like mine. Let's try that. Mirror words.
Mirror words.
Look at that. Okay, you're ready for the next step. This time, I'm going to say mirror words. And when I say mirror words with my hands up, you'll say mirror words with your hands up. And now you're going to copy my gestures and you're going to echo my words. You're going to say my words. Let's try that. Okay. Mirror words.
Mirror words.
Rule 1.
Rule 1.
Follow directions quickly.
Follow directions quickly.
Rule 1.
Rule 1.
Follow directions quickly.
Follow directions quickly.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
So you've taken them from the beginning stages of just finding their mirrors to moving their mirrors to adding the words. Melissa, talk about those first 3 levels of scaffolding in mirror words.
Thank you, Nancy. So first, we're just talking about getting our mirrors, how to get them up fast with that variety, practicing that. Second, we're doing the check. Again, getting the mirrors ready and copying what the teacher is doing with our gestures. And third is when we're getting into the actual words and practicing the echoing. And you'll see we use the rules as our way to copy that up. But any point doesn't have to be the rules. Whatever you're teaching, you're using mirror words.
Oh, great job. Huddle up. I just have to say, for those of you who are watching and you're saying, but I thought there was more than one kind of mirror. There are. There's lots of different mirrors, but for today, we're just going to be talking about mirror words. So keep an eye out because more mirror words and other mirrors are coming. So that's our first 3 steps of scaffolding in. Great job of explaining that, Melissa. Let's go to the next slide because we're going to start from the very beginning, Melissa. We're going all the way through. Here we go. I bet you can do this. Good morning, class.
Good morning, Miss Maestra.
Yay, class.
Yay, yes.
Thank you, class.
You're welcome, Miss Maestra.
Mirror words.
Mirror words.
Rule 1.
Rule 1.
Follow directions quickly.
Follow directions quickly.
Rule 1.
Rule 1.
Follow directions quickly.
Quickly.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
Okay, so that gives you an idea. If you're going to go all the way from the beginning, go right into your lesson, the greeting may not always be part of it, but you will always start with that attention getter, those manners, and then going right into that brain engager of whichever mirror you're going to use, mirror words. All right, Melissa, I have a feeling you need to explain something because I see a really big point.
Really. Thank you, Nancy. Big point. You need to speak in small chunks as you deliver these points of information. 30 seconds or less. Again, the longer we talk, the more students we lose. So we're trying to talk less. It is better to have more reps and more learning than to sit there and talk and talk and talk. So are we ready for an example, Miss Nancy?
I would love an example.
So, for example, mirror words.
Mere words.
I want you to repeat all that I said in the last 30 seconds right now, please. Can you remember everything I just said, Miss Nancy?
I think I want you to repeat
Something?
I didn't hear the last part.
And I didn't talk for that many seconds. So that was the wrong way, which I do often. We all are going to. We want to chunk it out, and your students will help you. You'll realize real fast you repeated that a little bit too much. So let's do the right way. Mirror words.
Mere words.
The big point.
The big point.
To speak in small chunks.
To speak in small chunks.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
So we can repeat that more often, and the smaller chunks you can see if everybody's with you. You can move on to the next chunk of your lesson. But we want to have more reps, more learning, and speak in smaller chunks. That's the purpose of our brain engager, and it really does get it in our brains.
Exactly, because when you allow the students to mirror and echo you, now their brain engagement goes much higher. And there's attention. You can see who's with you when they're all copying your gestures and when they're echoing your words. You can look around right there and then. Great job, Melissa.
Thank you, Nancy.
Okay, so Melissa, this is a big part. And look at that big page right there. So we actually have come to the most important part of this whole circle. I'm going to say that again. We are now at the most important part of this whole circle, because right now we're going into collaborative learning, our teach okay, and this is where the learning starts. Up until now, they've just been repeating my words.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore. Now they're going to be turning and explaining or resizing, putting it in a summary of what they just learned, and we're going to show you how to do that. So Melissa, explain to me why the learning starts now.
Thank you, Nancy. So this is really the most important part of the circle. This is when we're getting into the collaborative learning. Before, in mirror words, they're mirroring us. We've had their attention. We're getting them kind of going, but the teach okay, that's when they're really turning to their neighbor or explaining what they're learning. This is where the really meat of the lesson is happening each time.
Okay, Melissa, are you ready to do this?
We're so ready. And I want everybody on here. We might not be able to see you, but we know you're going to mirror with us. All right? Get ready.
Okay, here we go, Melissa. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Miss Maestra.
Class.
Yes.
Thank you, class.
You're welcome, Miss Maestra.
Mere words.
Mirror words.
Rule 1.
Rule 1.
Follow directions quickly.
Follow directions quickly.
Rule 1.
Rule 1.
Follow directions quickly.
Follow directions quickly.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
I'm going to clap twice and say teach. I want you to clap twice and say okay as you're turning to your coffee cup today and teaching your partner what I just said about rule 1. Follow directions quickly. Teach.
Okay. Rule number 1. Follow directions quickly. Follow directions quickly is rule number 1. Rule 1.
Class.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, class.
You're welcome, Miss Maestra Nancy.
So you just saw Melissa and I go all the way through, and at the end of that cycle, I finished my mere words and my direct instruction, and now I turned it over to my students to rephrase and restate, to problem solve what they just heard. That's the teach okay. But when you first do it, it might not look as pretty as it does on this page. So we're going to break it down a little bit more for you. So Melissa, let's show them how we can do that. And I know that Melissa is a TK teacher, but Melissa, explain to me, how do I get started when I scaffold this?
Thank you, Nancy. So this collaborative learning, this teach okay, is, again, it's the most important part of the whole cycle. So we need to take our time and build it up. We want to make sure they're actually teaching their neighbor. And this doesn't matter if you're teaching 4-year-olds like I do, or if you're teaching grown-ups. This practice is important. It just might go a little faster depending on the age. So we're going to break it up. As you can see here, look at your neighbor. Now look at me. Look at your neighbor. Say, hi, neighbor. Now look it back at me. Look at your neighbor. Wave your hand and say, hi, neighbor. And look back at me. Look at your neighbor. Wave your hand. And I want you to wave your hand over and over until I call you back again with the class. Class. Now look at me. Awesome job, Miss Nancy. So again, doesn't take that long, but you can see, you can notice, okay, do we need to practice a little bit more? Are they turning and talking to their neighbor? So quick, but so important to practice this initial part so you can really master the teach okay.
That's great. So what she's just shown you is micro-step it. Micro-step your introduction to this. And like she also said, it doesn't matter if you're not teaching kindergarten. I've seen 6th graders need this practice as well. So by making it fun, making it a game, now you've got them participating, and they're gradually going to be working into where they can turn and teach something to their partner. Well done. Okay, so you've got this piece going. I want to go to the next level. So we're going to practice that together, Melissa. And all of you who are watching this, please do it with us, because that's how you learn, is when you do it. So the first part of this is, I've just said, look at your neighbor, look at me. Now we're going to just practice introducing that teach. So I'm going to clap twice and say teach. You're going to clap twice and say, okay, let's try that. Teach.
Okay.
Teach.
Okay.
Okay, so this time when I say teach, I want you to say okay and just turn. All right, and come back when I call you. So here we go. Teach.
Okay.
Class.
Yes.
Teach.
Okay.
Class.
Yes.
Okay, you're pretty good at turning and getting that full turn in. And to all of you watching, you really want to practice that. Get them moving. That turning is so much fun for them. All right, so this time when you turn, I want you to get your hands up, ready to gesture to your partner. So here we go. Teach.
Okay.
Oh, look, she's got her hands up. Class.
Yes.
And always pull them back with that class. Yes. And then practice again. Teach.
Okay.
And she still just got her hands up. So now you're ready for the next piece. This time when you turn to your partner, you're going to use your hands to gesture, and you're going to say yada, 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 till I call you back. Let's try that. Teach.
Okay. Yada, 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 yada.
Class.
Yada. Yes.
Teach.
Okay. Yada, 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 yada.
Class.
Yada, yada. Yes.
So as you can see, these little micro steps can go pretty fast because they're just turning. And then we gave them, let me explain, huddle up. We're asking to say yada, 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 because you're going to have some students in your class who may not speak English, may not be verbal yet, but this gives them a focus of something that they don't have to know a lot of stuff about. If you can say yada, yada, or you can gesture yada, yada, you're in the game. And that's what we want. So that's why we bring this in. Okay, so you've got that down. But do we both talk at the same time? Do my partner and I talk at the same time? Well, we want to make sure that all our students become good speakers and all of our students become good listeners. So yes, we're going to switch, and we're going to do a high five switch. So this is what that looks like. This time when I say teach, you're going to partner one. Oh, partner one, you're closest to the door. Oh, partner two, you're closest to the cupboards. Look at your classroom, everyone, and decide where at a position are your ones and twos going to be in. So partner one, you're going to go first when I say teach, and you're going to say yada, yada, yada 3 times. Then you're going to high five your partner. And then partner two, you're going to go yada, yada, yada 3 times and high five, and then partner one back and forth until I call you back. So now you both get a turn. Here we go. Teach.
Okay. Yada, 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 yada. Switch. Yada, 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 yada. Switch. Yada, yada, yada.
Class.
Yes.
Very fast. And the reason we do a switch, I bet you wondered that too, Melissa. Melissa, would you have a student in your class that would like to just talk and talk and talk?
Oh,
and
yes.
Never high five?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be the leader the whole time.
Exactly. So that's why we do a 3 yada. Okay. They hit 3 yadas. They know that's when I have to switch. There's no decision making. Sometimes Mary doesn't want to come back and give up her talking role, but we want her to become a good listener. So that's a high five switch. Melissa, explain to me the reasoning why we put a switch in there during a Teach OK.
Thank you, Nancy. So the switch is kind of important because we all know we have those friends, and we probably are some of those friends who would talk and talk and talk. And we have those friends who would just sit back and not and just be the listener and not be the talker. So we want to have that switch. So everyone is having an opportunity to be the one saying those words and the one listening to those words.
That hits it right on the mark. And that's an important part. And so when you're doing this at first, don't be too hard on yourself. Like we said, don't scold those who aren't doing it right. Go back and practice, 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 because even we make mistakes and we're still cool when we do that. And your students are still cool. We practice more. Scolding does not work. Mm-mm. So we're moving on to the next slide, because as you notice what Melissa and I were doing, we were starting to add in a lot of variety. So one thing I want you to put on your I need for my new class this year. You aren't going. I bet you can't guess what it is. You need some tap shoes. You need an amazing set of dance shoes, because teaching is a performing art. And yes, you are going to be tap dancing all day, but you're going to have fun tap dancing, and your students are going to be tap dancing with you. And what an amazing thing. So how do I make that tap dancing look fun? I'm going to add variety. And on the screen, you can see some different varieties of class yes. And we're going to do different varieties of mirror words, and we're going to do different varieties of teach. All of it is done with that performing art, that gift we were given as a teacher. Melissa, explain to me why you're getting new tap shoes this year.
Thank you. Well, Miss Nancy, I'm going to make sure I have 2 pairs of my pretend tap shoes. I don't really have to get real tap shoes, but the point is I'm going to be ready to perform, because teaching is a performing art. And just like I don't want to be in the audience of somebody that never changes their voice, my students don't want to be in that audience either. I want that variety, changing that pace, changing that tone of voice. I am performing if I am a teacher. It is a performing art when I'm really teaching.
Yeah. I really think you all should have that written on your desk. Teaching is a performing art. Okay, so that's our point 6, a really big point we want to go to. So we went around and our students were teaching each other. But what's the teacher doing when they're doing that? Checking your phone messages, looking
my phony latte?
Oh, yeah. No, this is huge. In a normal traditional classroom, it's Friday, you give a test to see if what you taught that week really sunk in, but not in whole brain teaching. When you have them teaching each other, you are walking around the classroom and you're listening. You're checking for comprehension, and you can tell that by the gestures they're using, by the words they're saying, by their engagement. Can they repeat or summarize what you just taught them? Melissa, what am I doing when those students are teaching each other?
Thank you, Nancy. I'm not just sitting back or checking my emails. This is the time to really do that comprehension check. I've seen, do they get what we're talking about? Are they really summarizing it in their own words? Are they getting deep into it? Or are they just totally, what's for lunch right now? Because they haven't gotten the point.
That's right. That's right. And we won't know that unless we go out there and we check and we listen, because we're not just seeing if they got it. We're making a decision at that point. Are we going to go to the next point of information in that next circle move? Or am I going to go back and reteach the last point? using that circle. So you are making a check to see, is my lesson proceeding correctly, or do I need to chunk it more, repeat it more? Second, this is really big. And you can see on the back, it says, this is big. So when you're walking around, you're going to be doing 3 things. You're going to be praising. That means great gestures. And then you're leaving. You're going to move on to the next student. Don't stay there. You're also going to be prompting bigger gestures and moving on. Big point on this is when I give a praise like great gestures, I'm going to say it loud enough for the people around Melissa to hear. But when I do a prompt like bigger gestures, I only want the student I'm prompting to hear it. So there's no humiliation going on or any inflaming of that limbic. Melissa, talk about the difference between praising and prompting, please.
Thank you, Nancy. So this is really important. I am going in there. I'm praising those things big. Oh, that's awesome job. Great gestures. If I'm prompting, it's not big. It's just for that one so that there's nothing about embarrassing anyone. And it's not about trying to get into a fight of it with anyone. I'm just praising, prompting quick, and then I'm leaving to the next one. This is all happening lightning fast.
That's right. And I'm going to explain to you a situation that you don't want to get into. If you give a praise and move on, you leave. That's not hard. But if you give a prompt like bigger gestures, you could have a student who turns and says, I was using bigger gestures. But guess what? You've already left. There's none of this. You're going to lose if you hang around to discuss whether he used or she used bigger gestures. You leave. Huddle up. One of the most powerful pieces beyond understanding if your lesson is working is what you can do during the praise, prompt, and leave. And that's where you're going to check in on students that you are aware of that may need an extra closeness at that point to say that hey, how are you doing? I see that you're working really hard. You're checking in. Hey, I'm here for you. That's that part where we go in and we make sure that any of our students having a really tough moment or a really tough day know that we're there for them. So that praise, prompt, and leave after the teach okay, that comprehension check is bigger. It's bigger than just finding out what they learned. Bigger. Melissa, talk about how I can check in on my students who might be having a tough day at that moment.
Thank you, Nancy. This is like gold. It's this short little thing, but I can check in with those ones who I know something's going on, or maybe I don't know what's going on, but I can see they need a little something. They need that connection, and that connection is so powerful. If we don't have connection with them, they're not going to learn anything. And what are we here to do? We're here to teach. That's what we're trying to help them. We're helping them learn. So it's so quick and so valuable. It's really life-changing. It really is.
I truly believe it is and I have to tell you, this praise, prompt, and leave, this comprehension check is 30 seconds or less, because you're going right back and you'll be back to check on them again it only takes about a minute to get around that circle, and you're back checking to make sure and check on your students. That's a big deal. So I'm going to have Weston come back and join us, because I know you've been busy over there, Weston. So Weston, I'm going to have you talk about, we showed this slide, the picture one.
Yep, that's right.
We showed this slide in part 1 of our series on the Magic Circle. I want to bring it back. Can you explain to me what we're looking at from Nora Krinke?
Thank you, Nancy. This is awesome. Who doesn't love locks? So just because we're using the Magic Circle doesn't mean we have to use all aspects all at once. It is very important that we sequence it correctly in microstep, just like we learned in our part 1 and part 2. Put a lock over it. If we're not ready to use it, the students are going to want to be ready for that next lock to be unlocked.
Great job. And it's so true, because we're in a living video game when you're in a whole brain teaching classroom. So those locks, like Weston just said, they're going to work really hard. Really perfect that class, yes, so they can find out what's under the next lock. So the locks make a big difference in a classroom. And we highly recommend it. So great job. So Weston, summarize. I mean, I'm giving you a big task, but summarize the Magic Circle, what we have done as we've started at the greeting.
Thank you, Nancy.
Welcome.
So we have gone through a lot with the Magic Circle. We started first with the greeting. Then we moved to the class, yes. The manners, thank you, you're welcome. Then we did mere words, teaching the 1 point, 2 different ways with funtricity, and finished with the teach okay.
Wow. Give him a 10-finger woo. Woo!
Woo!
Great job. So this is a basic run through now with part 1 and part 2 of how we use the Magic Circle with our simple mere words and how to scaffold that in. Be sure you watch the first part, watch the second part, and watch for the third part where we start to show you how to power up and extend this Magic Circle. It's amazing. Any questions, Weston, that you think we need to hit before we leave?
We do. We have one starred, and then we just had another one, couple more posted.
Right. So this is the first one. Prior to beginning teaching the Teach OK, do you have the students already partnered? Or do you allow them to choose? Do you switch partners? And this is a big question a lot. As you saw on Nancy, just look around your classroom. It doesn't have to be that hard. If you want to be more complicated, you can, but it really doesn't have to be that hard of just tell your neighbor, oh, if you're on this side, you're the first one. And it can be really simple.
The second thing I'll add to that is at the beginning of the year, when you start to do this, you may not know your students well enough, but we do recommend at some point that you start to put a lower performing student with a higher performing student. And that helps that comprehension check get stronger. So that's the other idea. But sometimes some partners don't do well together. So you may have to switch some partners up. Recommendation. So that no one feels like, oh, you guys don't get to sit together anymore. Mm-hmm. No. What I do is I will break up, like I'll move at least 3 partners around. 3 sets of partners around. So nobody has any idea. And even though 2 sets of those partners didn't need to be split up. But that gives you an idea. Well, in my classroom, I love to have you have different partners. Mm-hmm. But you know in here that you switch it because those 2 just aren't working together. So that's how you do that. And you decide how you want to partner them up.
And this part kind of goes with this tip of students who are selective of mutes. Don't push it depending on what it is. A different partner, maybe they'll get more, or there's a great session about inclusivity that has been done in some other groups for more specific tips. But I would say depending on the partner, they're getting that in their brain. They're watching, even those ones who, what do you do if they're not doing gestures? They're still getting that. They're seeing it, they're hearing it. And so they're going to be getting that information.
And that kind of goes back to the last question. When you know you have a student who may need some special patience from their partner for this challenge, select someone that you know will work with the student, will support them, and not be upset when that student is able to respond in the way that they wanted them to. You have a big part here. You're going to evaluate who's getting work and who's going to support someone in a special situation. So that was a great question.
Great question. And I know, thank you all who have been on here. This is a meatier topic, so we're a little bit on the crunch time. There's one other one that I did want to make sure we got. What was that welcome gesture again, Miss Nancy?
Just reach your arms out. It's just that big old welcome.
So I thank you guys so much. Thank you, Weston, for manning the chat. Be sure to copy those things. And remember, if you're watching this on the replay and you have more questions, comment those questions and we'll be able to see those and look forward to the other part 3 of diving a little bit deeper. But Nancy, do we have to dive deeper or is this already a lot?
This is a lot. You're diving deeper when you're watching this. So go slow, as Andrea Schindler says, go slow to go fast. Take your time. It's your classroom. You're going to figure out how far and fast you want to go as well. Thank you all so much for coming, and thanks for sticking around so long.
Have a great one. Thank you, guys.